Hi everyone, this is Emily Leiphart from Art from the Heart. Welcome to our 9th video for the Too Many Cards video series. Hero Arts is our generous sponsor today, and we're excited to be playing with the birthday celebration stamp set and coordinating frame cuts. This is such a fun stamp set full of images that are perfect for birthday cards. I always find that I have a shortage of birthday cards, and now that I have this set I have no excuses. I need to build up my stash. I love this stamp because it has solid images and layering embellishments for those times when I don't want to color. Plus it gives me the chance to show off some great ombre inks. I'm going to use at least 4 of the images on my card, including the cupcake, martini, party, hat, and balloon. If space allows, I'd also like to use the champagne since I love drinks, and why not have 2, especially to celebrate a birthday. This set includes 2 circles that can be used as confetti for a fun and colorful background, and even as smaller balloons. The groups of tiny dots, stars, and diamonds are the accents for the cupcake, hat, champagne, and balloon. I also love that the fonts are big but have a vintage look to them. They're not completely solid and have a bit of a worn look to them. These images have a simple shape, and the dies offer so many possibilities for creating popped-up images, recessed images, and of course shaped shakers, all of which I will be doing on this card. Let's get started. I'm starting with an A2 card base and 2 panels cut 1/4 of an inch narrower than the card base. I'll offset the panel to the right to show a strip of pattern paper or glitter tape. I'll decide on that later. I have 2 panels because I'll be stamping the same images twice, so that when I create the shaker, all I have to do is die cut the top layer to reveal the image on the bottom layer. Since I'm using ombre inks, the images won't look exactly the same, and I'll have the option of choosing the panel that was stamped better. I'm going to start with the martini on the left. I love that it says party inside. I'm going to place all of my images across the panel first to get an idea of spacing before stamping each element. It's here that I decide that the champagne flute doesn't look great with these other images, so I decide to use the cupcake instead. I've also chosen the Celebrate It's Your Day sentiment, and it will sit in the center underneath the images. The cupcake sits quite low, and I will have to stamp the sentiment on top of the base of the cupcake to keep it where I want it to be. Each ombre ink pad has 3 bands of color, from light to dark. Since I don't want a line where the transition occurs, I have to hop the ink pad along the stamp to merge the colors and blur the transition. The martini will be stamped with ombre neon chartreuse to blue. I'm going to have the darker color at the top and the lighter color at the bottom. The nice thing about using the MISTI stamping tool is that I can stamp the ombre twice, and it looks extremely well blended since both stampings will not be the same. It's similar to the way photo bursts combine many photos to get one great photo. I just love this ink pad. It's one of my favorite ink pads ever. I'll be stamping the party hat next, but I want to place the balloon to make sure I leave enough room for the hat and cupcake, which are in the center. As always, I want to make sure the 2 images are the same distance from the edge of the panel. The party hat will be stamped in ombre neon red to purple. Again, I stamp it twice for a beautifully blended transition. I'll also stamp this on the second panel. These first 2 images will be left alone, and the techniques will be done on the second 2 images. I place the balloon and prepare it for stamping, but I also bring in the cupcake stamps to gauge positioning. I have to know exactly how high or low to place the balloon so the cupcake doesn't interfere with it too much by covering up the string, and I also need to make sure that the cupcake doesn't sit too low into the sentiment. For the balloon, I'm using ombre Tide Pool to navy, and I'm keeping the darker color at the bottom of the image. This is the opposite of the first 2 images. This ink pad was too juicy, so I had to absorb some of the ink using a paper towel. That worked out well. For the balloon string, I'm going to use ombre mint julep to emerald green, and I'm going to match the dark end of the string to the dark end of the balloon. This balloon string is so thin, and the ink was so precise in its stamping. You can really see the transition of the colors along the string, even on such a small surface. I was very impressed. I have a completely separate piece of cardstock here for stamping the cupcake halves, since they'll be die cut and layered on top of the existing panels. I'll be stamping the cake part using ombre neon yellow to orange, and this ink pad is my second favorite. I just love these bright colors. I don't really need a second stamping of the cupcake, but I'll do it anyway so I can choose the one I like better. For the cup part, I tried 2 different ombre inks before going back to the same pad I used on the cake part, just using the more yellow end of it. Before die cutting the 2 halves of the cupcake, I decide that I want to add some sparkly sprinkles by stamping with Versamark watermark ink and heat embossing with Hero Arts sparkle embossing powder. It's simple and subtle, but adds a fun element to the cupcake and the card. Now I can die cut the cupcake. Isn't it the cutest? I go back to my 2 panels and look at the individual elements. One has a better martini and the other has a better balloon, so that works out perfectly. The panel with the better martini will sit on top, and I'll die cut the balloon from that to reveal the better balloon on the panel beneath. Now I'm going to stamp some bubbly as well as the sentiment. Martinis typically don't have fizz, but I wanted to add something to that side of the card to balance the length of the balloon and string. To create my own ombre shades, I stamp once with ombre mint julep to emerald green, and a second time with ombre neon chartreuse to blue. I return the cupcake to the panel to prepare for sentiment placement. As soon as I have the sentiment where I want it, I move the cupcake pieces out of the way in case excess ink gets on the panel and smudges on the die cut pieces. I'm going to use blackboard or chalkboard ink to stamp the sentiment. It's black but not super dark. It's almost like a blackboard with a light dusting of chalk. As soon as I go to ink up the sentiment stamp, I decide that I want to use two colors on the sentiment, so I use washi tape to cover up the second line before stamping Celebrate in blackboard. When creating multicolored sentiments, don't forget to remove the washi tape before stamping. Now for the third stamping, this is where I have to stamp this word on the base of the cupcake. I use a removable tape runner to hold it in place before stamping. I remove the stamped cup and cover up the top part of the sentiment to stamp the second line in ombre neon red to purple. This time I'll be using the purple end that appears at the top of the party hat. Now it's time to assemble the panel. I start by adhering a piece of acetate to the back of the top panel that will house the sequins. Then I adhere foam tape to the entire panel to support it, as well as create the walls that will contain the sequins. After selecting sequins and removing the backing from the foam tape, I can adhere the two panels together. Now I'm going to adhere the two pieces of the cupcake together with glue dots and attach it to the card. It's as easy as lining up the stamped letters. I decide to add a strip of silver glitter cardstock to mirror the silver star sequins and also to increase the sparkle factor of the card. I use 1/2-inch score tape to adhere the two layered panels to the card base. I find it easiest to stand up all the pieces so they're resting evenly on the table before pressing them together. To finish, I use a quick stick and glossy accents to adhere a few sequins to the panel. Here's the finished card. It has a bit of everything, including a clean and simple design, stamping with ombre inks, stamping on 2 layers, a multicolored sentiment, heat embossing, sequins in a shaker, and glitter. Hero Arts is giving away a $25 gift certificate to their store, so be sure to leave a comment here on this video as well as Kaylin's video. One lucky winner will be chosen randomly from this video or Kaylin's video. You must be a subscriber to both our channels. Comments will close at 11:59 p.m. Eastern on August 21st. The winner will be announced on both our blogs on August 23rd. As I mentioned in our last video, we will be redrawing winners for the Waffle Flower and Ellen Hudson episodes and announcing the Avery L winner at the end of this week, so be sure to check back then. One more quick note before I sign off. We are skipping the Too Many Cards video for the end of this month because Kaylin is getting married. We'll be back mid-September with the next installment in our series. Please head over to Kaylin's blog and YouTube channel using the link below to see her take on birthday celebration. Thanks so much for watching!